you ready to hang by your cuticles off the face of Mount Rushmore with Eva Marie saying? Are you ready to run through that cornfield with Cary Grant and elude that crop duster? Are you ready to ride with the two sexiest screen stars in Hollywood history through that tunnel of love? Well, then I think everyone is ready for North by Northwest, the first modern action movie. Now, Truman Capote used to say that friends were like shirts. You might have 2 or 3, but you might have many, but you always wanted to wear the same 2 or 3. Well, I think that's the same about movies. Because I always want to watch my best friends, like North by Northwest and Casablanca, and I think I'm going to wear them out. But the great thing about North by Northwest is that if you're watching it on TV and you're channel surfing, it's the ultimate click and stick. You see it and you want to stick with it from the Plaza Hotel across country to Abraham Lincoln's nostril on Mount Rushmore. I think we all should thank Comcast and TCM tonight for giving us the opportunity to watch an archival print of this movie the way it was meant to be seen on the big screen. It's my honor tonight to introduce Ben Mankiewicz, the weekend daytime host on TCM. Ben is the heir to 2 dynasties, one from Hollywood, one from Washington. He's a legendary multitasker, someone who once tweeted that he was watching a NCAA basketball game while listening to Roger Ebert's DVD commentary of Citizen Kane. Now, by the way, Citizen Kane was written by his grandfather, Herman Mankiewicz. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ben Mankiewicz.
Thank you very much, everybody. I made a lot of bets on a lot of games tonight, so if I appear distracted, that is why. Anybody know the South Dakota State Baylor score? There are about 200 people who didn't get in tonight. That speaks to the enormous popularity of this film and its star. I like to refer to her as the Lindsay Lohan of her day. Just in the tabloids all the time, dating different guys, just a reckless, wild youth, scandal after scandal, except she's been married to the same man for 61 years. And her husband, director Jeffrey Hayden, is here, and he is a terrific director, and they are a couple that the rest of Hollywood needs to sit up and pay attention to. Ladies and gentlemen, Eva Marie sing. Do you ever, we were in Houston last night for a screening of another film she did called On the Waterfront. Whatever, it was her first movie. She won an Oscar, no big deal. It happens all the time. Do you ever, how amazed are you, because I'm amazed, at the passion that people still feel 50, 60 years after these films were made, for them and for you?
It's beautiful. And I thank each and every one of you coming tonight. It's a good feeling. You go from job to job and have a wonderful time. And you don't always think of the audience, but when it's shown and there's the audience and response to it. I've loved being an actress. I want to continue being an actress. There's nothing I ever wanted to do, except in the early days, I wanted to be a third grade teacher. Now, why did that get a laugh? But then I changed my major. I love those 8-year-olds. My mother was a teacher. But I'm glad I made the decision. I've made some wonderful friends. And does that answer your question?
Yes, that answered my question. Thanks for coming, everybody. In 1954, you make On the Waterfront with Elia Kazan, and you've done a lot of television work at that point and theater. But it's your first movie. Now we move here 8 years later, correct? Yeah, 6 years later. I can't do math right now. But by now, you've won an Oscar, you've made films. Where are you in your career at this point? And how was it different for you being sort of a veteran, an established star that a great director like Alfred Hitchcock wanted in this role?
That's
as opposed
the longest question.
I'm not here's the funny thing, I'm not even done.
I don't remember what the question is.
You're a veteran at the time you make North by Northwest, unlike On the Waterfront. How is it different for you? Attacking the film, sort of your confidence level?
Oh, confidence level.
I knew I'd get to a question.
Well, it was, I'm sure I had more confidence. It was a completely different role from Edie on the Waterfront. It was a sexy spy lady, and what lady doesn't want to be a sexy spy lady? And I love the idea. I didn't get much direction from Mr. Hitchcock as I did from Mr. Kazan, but he was interested in how the spy lady dressed. Now that might sound strange, but it helped me develop that character of the spy lady. He cared about the hair, the makeup, the earrings, the shoes, certainly the dresses. And from what he felt about the spy lady, how she should look, that helped me with the spy lady. Does that answer not really your question?
Well, it does. I mean, but you know, you didn't know. You told a story last night about Sam Spiegel, the producer, the powerful, somewhat notoriously.
You like that story?
It's a good story of On the Waterfront.
You'll never know.
Yeah. So when you come, your first movie's On the Waterfront. Tell them what Sam Spiegel did.
Okay. Sam Spiegel was the producer, and when Kazan wasn't around, and I wasn't sure what a producer did because it was my first film, but Sam Spiegel would come up to me and he would bring over the makeup man and ask for the lipstick and a brush, and he would come over to me and he'd make the corners of my lips go up, like that, with lipstick. So I thought, well, this is what a producer does. I didn't complain, but I found myself then going to the ladies' room and kind of, I thought, that makes me look like a, and that wasn't the character. And, but Kazan never saw him do it, and like, he probably never would have allowed that. But he probably felt, because he was not wanted on the set all the time, that he felt that when he could get on the set, he wanted to really do something. And he picked on me and my lovely lips.
Well, you were the one he knew probably, again, you didn't know what a producer did. You thought you didn't know to complain. You would have complained if the producer, if Alfred Hitchcock, well, maybe not if Hitchcock had done it, but you would have complained if a producer had showed up and tried to fix your lipstick on North by Northwest.
I would have slapped him. That's for sure. Today, right, ladies?
From a Hitchcock biography, this reads, for the female lead, MGM tried to force Hitchcock to accept Sid Charisse, and Cary Grant wanted Sophia Loren, in every sense of the word. It gets better. But Hitchcock, it says here, insisted on Eva Marie Saint.
Right. I didn't know that, but that's
why do you think, what do you think he, this is a tough question for you to answer.
Yes, don't even ask it. I have no one. I mean, why would he?
What do you think he saw in you? What were your strengths then? See, I put it in a way you can answer. You can answer. What were you particularly good at?
You sound like a professor and I don't know the answer. Well, he saw me in On the Waterfront, so I guess he saw me in that role and thought I could play a sexy spy lady.
You've done a couple of movies in between them. Well, you know what? Here we go. So this is what Hitchcock said about Eva Marie Saint. I watched every hair on her head. She had 2 wardrobes made for her, and I discovered when we screened that the wardrobe designer was dressing her up as a waif. She was dressing the Eva Marie Saint of On the Waterfront. I went along to Bergdorf Goodman's myself, sat with her as the mannequins paraded by. I chose the dress for her. I suggested she be dressed in a basic black suit, a heavy black silk cocktail dress. She blossomed out for me. I took a lot of trouble with Eva Marie Saint, grooming her and making her appear sleek and sophisticated. Then he says this, next thing, she's in a picture called Exodus looking dissipated.
You know, I think I could do this evening alone without... Again, what was the question?
I thought maybe you'd run with the taking you shopping. What was that?
Oh, yes, Steve, yes. Thank you. He said he didn't like the clothes that were actually made for me, designed for me. He had his own idea. So he said, I'd like to take you to Bergdorf Goodman. I'd like you to take you to Bergdorf Goodman. And he took me, and we were sitting there, and the mannequins were walking by. He said, now, and he didn't pick out everything. You have that wrong. He said, whatever you would like. That's why I called him my sugar daddy after that. He said, whatever you like, Eva Marie. What was that? Oh, whatever you like, just tell me. So I love the black dress with the red embossed roses. And I said, I like that. He said, wrap it up for Miss Saint. Now that's the truth. Sort of.
When we open this up for some people to ask questions, one of the questions they will ask, as they asked last night, was Alfred Hitchcock obsessed with you? Because he was with other leading ladies.
That doesn't mean he was obsessed with me because he was other... I mean, we're all different. How could he be obsessed with blondes, generally? Is that what you're saying, Ben? It's not true. It's impossible. Each woman is different.
Do you think because you were married and you had children and you were of great substance that sort of told him not to mess with you? Not to attempt
to mess with
Not to, I mean even in the...
I guess we come from different generations.
I actually didn't, in a rare case, I didn't mean it like that. I will later. No, that he...
No, it's really an interesting sort of question. Because I think we the blondes, the Hitchcock blondes, I guess he liked blondes.
Yes.
But we're all different, and we came from different backgrounds. We were at different points in our personal lives, and I think it was just different for him. I don't think you can say he had the hots for all of us. That's an expression we used in Albany.
We still use it today.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
I grew up in Albany. Why don't you ask me about Albany?
Where did you grow up?
Albany. Oh, you're so cute, Ben.
The screenwriter here, the great Ernest Lehman, he's the one who I was reading from, who said that Hitchcock was not obsessed with you in a negative way, but he said he did have great affection for Eva Marie, but who didn't?
Ernie Lehman said that?
Yes.
I love him. Yeah, no, that's very sweet. That's very sweet. I was impressed with Hitch, the way he directed, but also, you know what, I was really impressed, and you can tell how young I was, and it was in 1836 or so. I was impressed that he had his bacon imported from Denmark.
He brought in his own bacon?
No, he imported it. They sent it to him.
Wow.
He ordered it.
That's power.
It was to me.
You mentioned how different he was than Kazan. Talk about that a little bit, because these are both directors who completely controlled their sets. There was no disputing at any point who was in charge, but their manners of asserting that power were very different.
The interesting thing was, if he were directing this scene, he would tell Ben to sit there, Eva Marie to sit here. Fine, that's where he wants us to sit. I come to the actor's studio, I'll do whatever I'm told to do. There's a misconception about the studio that someone would say, no, I want to sit there. No, you sit where the director tells you to sit. But that was pretty much it. And then he had in his mind what the scene was. And he never, I don't think there was much editing, is that correct? Because he used storyboard, and he knew when he was filming it, he was cutting it in his mind's eye, so with very little editing going on. Now, I came across something that maybe you don't know, Ben. Of course, you know everything about all of this.
Spare me.
Yeah. I think you know a lot. But do you know this, that he, when he watched the dailies, he would turn the sound off to be sure that what the actors were saying, what they were emoting and their expressions, that the scene made sense and said what he wanted that scene to say without the dialogue. Like The Artist. How many of you seen The Artist? I love that film. Twice I've seen it. But I find that interesting that he would turn off the sound and watch the scene to see how it played without the dialogue.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's remarkable. He, it is said about him and his storyboarding that that the actual process of directing was born to him. That his excitement for him was in the planning and the careful, minute planning that enabled him to say, okay, now I got the script I like. If the shot is set, go do it. This part doesn't interest me that much.
Maybe that's why he didn't direct that much on the set.
Right.
And he really didn't. You know, we were left. He felt that when you were on one of his sets, well, I was only on one set, but that you were the yes, you were the actors to play that role. No one else was suggested. I don't know. I don't want to know all that history about it. But
it was very different for Kazan. Kazan was totally different.
Yes. He was there, and he was by the camera. They don't do that anymore, do they? They're watching the, what is that called?
Monitor?
Thank you.
I'm here for you.
You watch the monitor, so they're not near the camera. And Kazan was always, if this is the camera and you're all the actors, he would be right here, not saying anything, not doing anything, not gesturing, but just there. And his presence was so strong, and it was like teamwork. He was rooting for you, and you felt that. I miss that in directors. They're off. Those monitors can be blocks away.
You sort of appreciated the hands-on nature of a director right there.
Yes, well, I'm married a director, and his hands are on. Well, what about that?
What was that? What just happened?
I don't know. It's Philadelphia. Used to Philly, we got a little crazy, didn't we?
This film was like Hitchcock's, biggest picture, sort of, with the, again, literally it moved north by northwest, moving from New York City to South Dakota. Did you think you were just in a regular Hitchcock picture? Did it strike you during it that you were in sort of what many have called sort of what Truffaut even called sort of his definitive American picture, that this was a...
You never, and people ask that about Waterfront, that this is your job, this is an exciting job, this is what you want to do, you're working with an incredible script, Ernest Lehman's script, a director, the other actors, and you do the best you can. You're never thinking beyond that day's work, ever.
Even when you're with someone of Hitchcock's magnitude?
No, Ben, no.
What about, but, so, do you remember the first time you saw it?
Oh, yes. When you're not in a scene, you don't know what that scene will be until you see it on screen. And I went to the opening with my husband, And at the very end, you'll see the train go through a tunnel. What was that? Do you want to tell anybody?
Are you sure you weren't a third grade teacher? Are you sure you weren't a third grade teacher?
So I said to my husband, the train going through the tunnel. Shh. And I said to my husband, ooh, that's a little Freudian, isn't it? And Jeff said, you got it, honey, you got it. Those who haven't seen it, you'll see it tonight, and you'll get it, you'll get it.
Yeah, it's not. It's hard to miss. Hitchcock calls it one of his greatest shots.
You really?
Yeah.
I wasn't in it. Oh, I wasn't. No, I wasn't in it. No, I was on the train, but you don't see me.
No, but we.
You know what's going on.
You're relevant. Extremely relevant. You had obviously you'd worked with Brando and On the Waterfront. Again, this is a comparative question, and those are a little lame in their nature. But Brando's from the Actors Studio, Cary Grant not at all from the Actors Studio.
Didn't matter. He was still wonderful, of course.
Yeah, no,
Not still wonderful. He was wonderful. Not everyone has to go to the Actors Studio. And On the Waterfront, most of us were from the Actors Studio, including the director. But I don't think Cary Grant, I don't think he ever studied, did he? He was from the circus.
Yeah, he'd been a performer before he was an actor.
And in his early movies, you see all the things he could do physically, and that came from the circus. He'd be in the Circus du Soleil now, wouldn't he?
Yeah, well, I think he'd be a huge movie star, is what he'd be if he were around right now. He'd still be a huge movie star. He would have been a huge star.
But he might have become bored and gone back to the circus.
He might have. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a little more money in film than the circus. But I don't know. You know what? I don't know.
You know, I always wanted to join the circus.
Is that right? What would you have done in the circus?
Well, I wanted to ride the elephant.
Uh-huh.
And then first time...
That's not a euphemism? You actually wanted to ride the elephant?
Yes, man, I wanted to ride the elephant. And then when I finally got called to be a guest, it's Philadelphia, to be a guest and ride the elephant, guess what? I didn't do it. You know why? I was pregnant. And I didn't know it then. So I'll never ride that elephant.
Speaking of being pregnant, I want you to talk a little bit more about Cary Grant, but speaking of being pregnant, not related to Cary Grant. Your first movie, On the Waterfront, you win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, because, you know, whatever, it's so easy. What was that... I do! What was that night like?
We were in New York. In those days, you had the people in New York who made the movies and the people in Hollywood, and there was jealousy between the two, and you would go back and forth. It wasn't the way it is now, and people didn't make long acceptance speeches thanking everybody. You just went up and you said thank you, and you walked back. So, but that was an exciting evening because none of us thought that Waterfront, black and white, New York, maybe a little downer, might not win anything. And then people started winning. Boris Kaufman, the cinematographer, they called his name, somebody else. And I was sitting next to Jeff, and he said, honey, they call your name, don't rush up on that stage. And they called my name, and I started to. I mean, who listens to their husband all the time? But I started, and I couldn't because his hand was on my thigh, and he said, count to 10. So I have someone took a film of me, and I'm going, smiling, 1, 2, 3. And then I rushed up, because 2 days later I had the baby, so he didn't want me to lose the baby. I didn't either, but it was a pretty heady time. Oscar and a baby.
Yeah, 5 of the actors in On the Waterfront nominated for Oscars. Yeah,
and no one expected it then.
Yeah,
and there wasn't any publicity. It wasn't the way it is now with all the ads, and we're saturated with all of that. And the poor actors have to go to this luncheon and that screening and this interview. My God, they're exhausted, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed The Artist very much. As soon as I saw it, I was sort of told, oh, this is going to win the Oscar. This is an Oscar-winning film, and I'm getting emails about how it's supposed to win the Oscar. That kind of thing never went.
But I could have told you, I knew it was going to Oscar. Wait, I voted for it.
Did you vote for it?
I'm not supposed to say that to an Academy member, but these people will never tell you.
No, no,
They're doing it right now.
Who else did you vote for? As long as you're opening up.
No, never mind. I'll Google you.
So, Cary, how was it intimidating at all to work with Cary Grant in any way?
No, I'm intimidated by wonderful artists. I'm intimidated by musicians, by writers. I'm never intimidated by an actor.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because I'm an actor, and we're just people, and we have a profession, and hopefully an art profession. But I wasn't intimidated by Marlon because we same actor studio. But no, he's an actor, and he's a fellow actor, and he was a nice fellow and a handsome fellow, and an adorable fellow and a sexy fellow, all of those fellows.
There's a funny story about...
How come I can't have notes?
Say what?
How come I can't have notes?
Because I don't want you to have.
You're sitting there.
Because I want to keep you off guard. Hitchcock Hitchcock had just done Vertigo with Jimmy Stewart, and Jimmy Stewart was pleading with Hitchcock to get the role in North by Northwest. Hitchcock said, I didn't want to come straight out and tell him we had Cary Grant in mind, so I just told him that we didn't have anything on paper yet. Then one day he called, he said he couldn't put Columbia off anymore, that he had to report with Kim Novak for Bell Book and Candle. And Hitchcock said, of course I was very relieved, and I said simply, well, Jimmy, that's our loss. I guess we'll have to look for someone else.
It's a terrible business, isn't it? Speaking.
But Cary Grant was Hitchcock was right, he was perfect.
No, I know all the ladies when he was wonderful. And he was so kind because he had a tan, whatever, grease, and I'm fair. And in his contract, he had the amount of the light, how much light could be on him. He didn't want too much light, but he needed a lot of light because of his dark skin. Well, he had the dark skin and the light bleeding lady. And one day he saw me squinting, I have blue eyes, and he saw me squinting. Rather than say, Eagle squinting, he said, you know, guys, that light on me is a little bright. It's a little bright. And I'll never forget that, because he could have said something else. He was very kind that way. And the actor when he was that star, he had the privilege of looking at all the photos that are taken on the set. And if there's something they don't like, he or she doesn't like, you just scratch it out like this so it will never be printed. And so he went over the photos of Cary and myself. And the photos that were not good of me, he would scratch out, even if they were great of him.
Really?
Yeah, he had that in his contract. Now I have it in my contract. But I didn't have it then, and I remembered that.
Well, let me ask you about the contracts for a little bit, because it's striking about how the differences between male actors and women were in that day. Cary Grant's contract for North by Northwest calls for $450,000 up front. This is, again,
I don't want to hear this.
1959. And then it gets worse. And then $5,000 a week every week after 7 weeks. The 7 weeks, they hadn't shot a second of film after 7 weeks had gone by.
I hated Cary Grant. I don't think that's fair.
Now, but...
Because I was a woman.
Well, but, you know, it's interesting, because why, I mean, do you remember what your salary was on North by Northwest?
No, and I don't want to talk about it. I paid them.
You, but I mean, how many Oscars did Cary Grant have?
Well, there you are.
Yeah, but was that a thing? It's 1959. Was that just, you just accepted that that's the way it is, that Cary Grant, being Cary Grant, got this enormous salary, and I'm sure you were well compensated, but I'm guessing you didn't get $500,000 to do the picture.
No, and don't be that sure.
Was there a sense among actresses then at all that?
I think so, that yes, I'm sure the older older, leading man. Yes, I think so. But I love doing it. I wasn't thinking about all that money. I had a working husband, and you don't have to have all the money in the world.
No, of course not. But so it was not a thing that the actors...
Did I resent it or no?
No, not at all.
I do now. No.
Oh, you're seething with resentment now. People can, I think we can all see it. I asked you this last night, so now you've had 24 hours to think about it. I think the people in Philadelphia will know what I mean when I say, pretend none of us are here, nobody knows, your husband's not here, Cary Grant or Marlon Brando.
My husband. Possibly, I've never done this. I would like my archivist of many, many years. His name is Richard Weigel from New York City, and he's been my archivist. He knows more about me than you do. You do. Could Richard stand up?
Richard. Richard, did I miss anything big? Have I missed something huge? All right, thank you very much. I don't know, I know we're over. Is there a couple of questions we could get from the audience here before we go? Right there, because I'm seeing you. Go ahead, fire away.
Yes.
Put a microphone there.
Good evening. I had the recent good fortune to see the 1996 cable movie of Titanic that you made with George C. Scott and Peter Gallagher. In it, you played a first-class passenger woman who was nasty and mean and made horrible comments about all the other people. Do you have a preference for playing characters like that, or do you like to be the goody two-shoes?
That was me.
Oh.
She is cruel to everybody. Let me tell you. Spent the last 2 days with her, snapping at people.
Where's my husband? Stand up, gentlemen. Thank you. Wonderful director.
Do you like playing roles like that? Do you like playing roles where you're a little, if you'll excuse me, bitchy?
What did you say?
Nothing. I said, do you like playing roles where you're cruel?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did something called, what was it? See, he's my archivist. I love that, Richard. I never would, and I got an Emmy for it. I got an Emmy for it. But that lady was really, what did you call me? Who did he call me?
I didn't say anything.
Who said the word? Well, you know what I mean.
It might have been me.
But very spoiled, had a son with AIDS, didn't acknowledge that, didn't acknowledge the son, had very few friends. The last shot of her is with her dog. And I love playing that role because there are selfish people like that. I've known a few in my life, and yet when you play a role like that, you have to figure out why. What happened in her or his life made him that way. And so you don't say to yourself, I hate this character. You really have to love that character. And you have to figure out why and how this happened. Just how you have to with your friends if they don't always live up to what you think they should say or do or act. And so that's how I feel about any character. Yes, so maybe I enjoy more than other. I love playing Edie on the waterfront. But also the spy lady and also this mean lady. It's just exciting to create a character, but starting from something within yourself.
One more question. I'm sorry, the front row is just dominating here, but that's all I can see with the lights. Make it quick, please.
First, Eva Marie, you're beautiful. And Hitchcock was
But I am married, you know that.
Hitchcock was known for having a sense of humor. Did he play any jokes on you and Cary Grant during the making of this movie?
Cary Grant play any jokes on you? Sort of.
No.
Is that right? Did I get that right?
No, he didn't have, no. He worked hard, we all worked hard, and we played hard, you know, it was just fun on that set, but no jokes. No, not like that.
What was it like, I know we gotta go, Mount Rushmore, but we don't really have time. But the answer, it's Brando, right?
No, my husband. What's wrong with you, man?
So many things. So many things. Ladies and gentlemen, Eva Marie. Yes, for 1959, North by Northwest, Cary Grant, Eva Marie sang, the great Martin Landau. Enjoy, everybody.